Greetings, thank you for lending an ear to the Voice of the Times for Saturday, February 12, 2022. Brought to you by Wilcon Depot, the country's leading home improvement and construction supplies retailer. Shop conveniently 24/7 with Wilcon online store. Just go to shop.wilcon.com.ph. For today's editorial, can anything be done about political dynasties? The arrival of the official campaign season brings with it an issue that has bedeviled the Philippines almost since its founding as a nation: the stubborn persistence of political dynasties. In spite of a prohibition against them being written into the 1987 Constitution, the fundamental law of the land, generation after generation of the same relatively few families fill elected offices at every level of government. Every election, the consensus opinion of an overwhelming majority of Filipinos is this must stop. And in every Congress following on election, bills are introduced to do exactly that. And every one that has been introduced has been quickly quashed. The people may ask, how many Villaras, or Sotos, or Marcoses, or Dutertes, or Balindongs, or Alontos, or Garcias, or Binays, or Revillas, or any of other few names do we need in government? But the answer, so long as it is left to those who populate this exclusive sliver of society to decide, is always as many as we can keep producing. In comments to the media last November, President Rodrigo Duterte, a second-generation dynast with 3 children serving in elected positions, summed up the national quandary over political dynasties rather well. Any attempt to enforce the constitutional provision against political dynasties will fail, he said, unless you change the culture. Dynasties are not necessarily bad in themselves, he continued, but only become that way when the people in them become corrupt. That perspective, which seems to be shared by everyone who is part of a political dynasty, is difficult to refute, because in democracy, any citizen has the right to participate in government. The citizen's right is only subject to basic qualifications that are applied to everyone equally, such as age or place of residence, or being in good standing with the law. Barring someone from holding public office on the basis of who his family is, something over which the individual has no control, would seem to be the exact sort of classism that democracy is intended to overcome. Undemocratic class system. We believe, however, there is a strong argument for precisely that sort of exclusion, because the perpetuation of political dynasties creates an undemocratic class system. When a political dynasty is large enough, and many of them are, they are able to, without doing anything illegal at all, effectively become a ruling class within their home area. There are many examples across the Philippines of families with members serving as governors, mayors, congressmen, and provincial and local councilors who simply swap offices when term limits force them to do so. Outsiders breaking into politics have a difficult time doing so unless they are closely aligned with the ruling family, and even then they have to compete at a significant disadvantage through the constant introduction of new members of the dynasty when they reach legal age to hold office. While it is true, as President Duterte observed, that many of them do serve honorably, the existence of this framework and the strong interest that the dynasties have in preserving their family businesses means that even the most public service-minded members of a dynasty inevitably have that as their first priority. That priority becomes reflected in public policy, and the results, we believe, are clear to everyone: persistent poverty and economic inequality despite the country's overall progress, the persistent lag in development in certain broad areas such as social services, and yes, even persistent corruption and unequal justice. The country needs to have a serious conversation about how to do away with political dynasties, or as President Duterte correctly put it, how to change the culture so that there is no incentive to create or perpetuate political dynasties in the first place. Passing an anti-dynasty law to enforce the constitutional prohibition may be the answer, but on the other hand, that effort has already had 35 years of failure, which strongly suggests a different approach is needed. And that's the editorial for Saturday, February 12, 2022. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to its digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, and listen to the voice of the Times.